Hey, folks. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to get started in maybe 30 seconds or so, but in the meantime, feel free to get settled in, look at some of the links we have on your console on the right-hand side. And if you would like, please feel free to share where you're joining from in the chat. I know we're going to have folks from all over, so it'll be exciting to know where exactly folks are joining from. I can go first. I'm joining from Raleigh, North Carolina. I see we have some folks from California, Florida, Arkansas. Nice. Well, as folks are doing that, I think we can go ahead and get started. Hi, everyone. My name is Lindsay Josephs, and I work on the higher ed marketing team at Openstax. And today we're joined by Dr. Rhett Smith, who is a professor of chemistry at Clemson University and the founder of ProtonGuru.com, as well as David Harris, who is the editor-in-chief here at Openstax. And today we will be discussing the free diversity, equity, and inclusion resources that come along with John McMurry's Organic Chemistry 10E.
Great. Thank you so much, Lindsay. Just want to check. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, David.
Okay, wonderful. Great. So thanks so much for attending today's webinar on organic chemistry and DEI. What we thought we'd do is provide you with a brief overview of OER and Openstax. We'll jump in very briefly, give you some highlights around organic chemistry, 10th edition and its background. And then Rhett is really going to spend the bulk of the time discussing the way that Photon Guru is providing DEI resources fully integrated with McMurry's 10th edition. As we go through this, please feel free to answer questions in the chat, or if there's any technical issues, please also put that in the chat, and we will try to resolve it. Okay, so let's start at the 30,000-foot level. What is Openstax? We're a nonprofit publisher based out of Rice University in Houston, Texas. We're primarily supported by philanthropists, foundations like the Gates Foundation and the Hewlett Foundation, and many others. Our mission is very simple. We want to improve educational access and learning for everyone, no matter where they are. And to date, we've published, it's actually about 65 resources, and we've saved students over $2.9 billion. All of the resources that we produced are called OER, Open Educational Resources, and they are all openly licensed. What does that mean? That means that you have a lot of rights as an end user. You can take the resources, you can adapt them, and then you can redistribute them without having to come to us for permission. And they're completely free. And in a few minutes, I will show you how students can access McMurry's organic chemistry text without even a password or registration. So the openness is very, very important. So what differentiates Openstax resources from some other OER? We spend a lot of time making sure that the resources align to the course topics and outcomes. We say that they meet your course scope and sequence. Like in the case of organic chemistry, written by very experienced and expert faculty. We do an extensive peer review process. We provide them in multiple formats and platforms. I'll explain that in a minute. We do annual errata and update cycles. And as I mentioned, they are highly customizable. These are all key attributes around the Openstax resources. And we know that today it has to be much more than just a printed textbook, especially with asynchronous learning opportunities for students. We provide free instructor and student resources. Typically now, we have a greater number of ancillaries for a given title that's even available with commercial resources. That's because the community has stepped forward and they develop openly licensed resources to support the open resources. So it's a virtuous cycle. We have a support center. We have helpful articles. We also have extensive courseware options, and organic chemistry is no different. We'll be having a webinar actually next week with one of our partners, ActiveChem. Photon Guru is another example of technology that's integrated with the book. So there are many, many resources for you to be able to use. So now let's turn our attention to organic chemistry. As you may know, organic chemistry is one of the, if not the best-selling organic chemistry books of all time. It was previously published, the 9th edition was published by Cengage. And John McMurray was the original and still only author on the text. So how do you go from being a very expensive published text to one that's openly licensed? Why did this occur? Well, you could say it's the perfect alignment of the stars. John McMurray had a son, Peter McMurray, who had a decades-long battle with cystic fibrosis. And he passed away, unfortunately, in December 2022. And John wants to honor his son, Peter, to help fight this battle of cystic fibrosis, hopefully to train researchers and also doctors. And he knew that Peter would like it if he gave his book away for free. And that's why John wanted to make sure that the next edition, the current 10th edition, was openly licensed. And so we were able to make an agreement with John and also with Cengage to openly license the 10th edition. And we are deeply indebted to John for that. And so what John also did, because we paid a license fee for this, is he made a significant donation to the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. And the link here is for your information. And if you'd like to make a donation to the CFF Foundation, that would be greatly appreciated. Okay, so let's turn our attention now to the 10th edition. What's changed? That's a question we frequently get. First, what hasn't changed? As you well know, the previous editions took a functional group approach, and that approach remains unchanged. The scope and sequencing of the chapters is the same as it has been in previous editions. So if you have been a long-time user of McMurray's text, this is a very easy transition for you. Or if you've used another functional group approach, maybe you've used Wade or Klein, this organization will be familiar to you. And you can see there's 31 chapters. It's really for a 2-semester course in organic chemistry for chemistry majors and also science STEM majors. When John approaches a revision, he really goes through every single page, every single word, to make sure that it is as clear as possible. As someone asked me to describe his authoring style, I would say John is exceptionally economical with words. Every word must carry meaning and weight. If you look at a lot of textbooks, if they go from one edition to the other, they get longer and longer and longer. That's not the case with this book. It's always been fairly lean, and the 10th edition is no exception. Every chapter has gone through, he's done an accuracy check on every chapter, making sure that any research findings have been updated, the number of known organic chemistry changes etc. All references to chromium-based oxidizing agencies have been deleted for safety. He's added coverage of quite a few topics that needed updating, and this occurred mostly in the second half of the book, where most of the changes occurs. Here are a few additional examples. For example, in chapter 31, there's a development of a new method for breaking down polymers that's also included. We have a detailed transition guide on the website, and the preface also spells out more of the changes chapter by chapter. One of our goals in terms of producing an organic chemistry book was to preserve the clarity of the art, the clear layout of the problems, and as Alina Slavic, our director of Openstax production, put it, to surpass expectations of digital users. So if you go and download the resource, which I'll show you how to do that in a second, I think you'll be really surprised at the quality of the presentation and how the text and the art work together. We also spend a lot of time improving the accessibility of the digital resources, just to make sure that this meets the needs of as many students as possible. The art was re-rendered for optimal digital and print outputs. A print version is available. Consistent color coding for the art and in text. A lot of attention was paid to that, so that the students get used to structures and being a consistent color. Practice problems are very carefully laid out, and we did extra rounds of reviewing for consistency and accuracy. So how do your students get the book? This is a frequent question. Let me share my screen and show you. Give me 1 second. Okay, so you just go to openstax.org, and then what you can do is you select your subject, science, and then you'll go to organic chemistry. And you'll see that we have 3 options for students. We have 2 options for students. View online, which I'll show you in 1 second, and download a PDF. In December, there will be a 4th option, which is to purchase a print copy, which will be full color, hardbound, and the price to the student will be around $58, which is exceptional for an organic chemistry book. As you know, those, I think they cost now like $250 if you can purchase them. Most publishers are renting them. So here you can view the table of contents, and if you want, you can link directly to the section that you want. I'm not sure how big this is showing up on your screen, but here's an example of the reflective art that we spent so much time on developing this resource. And students can navigate this just by scrolling. What they can also do is they can download a PDF. This requires no password, and it requires no registration for students. So it's completely open access. If they want to take notes and highlights and save those, the student can create an account, and then that will all be saved for them. To create an account is absolutely free on Openstax. Let's go back here for 1 more second. I'd just like to show you the instructor resources. The first are course cartridges. So the book is fully loaded into Blackboard, Canvas, and D2L, and there it's broken down by chapter, and then you can assign it to students through your LMS if you want. We also have Instructor Getting Resource Guide, and we have, remember, the 10th edition transition guide, which is coming out shortly. And then we have enhanced PowerPoint slides, which are published, and the student solution manual, which is the solutions, which has been updated, and then also the test bank. So we have quite a few resources. In addition, there are student resources here which I'd like to just quickly point out. We have the Student Solution Manual and the Student Study Guide, which I point out here. These typically cost students $100, but we openly license these, and these are also free for students to use. So that just gives you a sense of the breadth of the resources that are available. Okay, so we get this question frequently. I'd like to make my organic chemistry course more inclusive. And this is something that's a very important goal at Openstax. We want to make sure that the resources that we produce are reflective of the students that we serve. And so what we wanted to do is we wanted to see if there was a way we could do that with organic chemistry. And we've been so fortunate to find Rhett's website, Photon Guru, who's done just an exceptional job of working to make organic chemistry more inclusive. And so I'm so pleased to now turn this over to Rhett, who's going to walk us through Photon Guru. And so, Rhett, please take this away.
All right, thank you, David. I'm very happy to be here. I actually used McMurry, I don't know what edition, probably 20, 30 years ago. So it's really exciting to be part of this. Like, you've grown up. I don't know if it means I've really made it or I'm just getting old, but I'm associated with someone who taught me organic chemistry from their book back in the day. But it's really great to integrate all of this organic chemistry knowledge that's really incredibly presented in McMurry with sort of a human connection to the contributions by scientists from all kinds of backgrounds over the years. So we can go to the next slide. So an organic chemistry class, of course, has this focus on chemical transformations and concepts, and that doesn't change with the integration of these DEI resources. But we wanted to have a human connection to it. And I've always been interested in the history and literature of organic chemistry as well. And we've been using these resources before the McMurry release in my own class, just as my own personal project with Proton Guru. But I got some really good student feedback from this, and we have a very diverse student population at Clemson, and I really wanted to incorporate these kind of things into the class, and they were really well received. You can see how the students are viewing this. These are just some chosen quotes. There are a lot like this. So a student says they believe that learning the history behind the concepts can be very helpful in understanding and remembering the material. And as I show you the examples, these aren't just sort of a picture of someone with a textual description of what they do. It's going to show you how it connects to the actual specific sections in McMurry 10th edition as well. So it's going to feature highlights from the literature describing the contributions of a lot of researchers. And one of the things that I'd like to do is show some examples of people who are historical figures, but also some active researchers. So it's possible that someone could learn about this professor's research they're doing now and maybe contact them, maybe end up working for them as a graduate student at some point as well. And right now on the interface that I'll show you, we have the first semester interface loaded up, and the second semester interface is ready. That will go online before the end of the semester, of course, so that you all can see it to get ready for spring if you're interested in using it. And every sort of highlight from the literature that we offer is aligned with a specific section from McMurry. So if we go to the next slide, some student responses reflecting those goals. Someone says, from old school textbooks and regular websites, you don't get the feel of who discovered what. So this is definitely eye-opening as to what kind of people have done it. And rather than being very historical examples, there were modern examples, including the chemist involved with the show Breaking Bad, which got the module lively and interesting. That's one of the most interesting chemists that people like to point out, because they've seen this television show, say, hey, there's actually a chemist behind this, and there's organic chemistry involved that she had researched prior to that. And a really striking one, if I hadn't taken this course, there were many names and stories I never would have known. And that's kind of at the heart of what we want to do. So the way that you'd access these materials are, again, it's free for everyone. You go to the instructor resources, and if you click on that, it will take you to this next page. There's a place called Diversity Inclusion Modules. And if you click the little Go button on the side, it will take you to this link, which I'll screen share with you. Let's see. Okay, so I think that I'm sharing the screen now. I hope you all can see this. So if you were to click on that, it would actually take you to a screen like this that would allow you to enroll for free. So just like all the other Openstax interfaces, here you'll just have your student enter their email address and create a password. Their information is not shared with anybody. And there's a little bit of a sort of pre-course table of contents you can see. But once the student signs up, they'll right away have access to this interface. There's a brief introduction to the course. And I would be remiss if I didn't thank the people who helped me develop this. Carrie Shelton Taylor, who's a professor at Columbus State in Georgia. She had taught a history of chemistry, history of science class over in Cambridge. And my friend Andrew Tennyson, who's a faculty member at Clemson as well. Now the sort of the heart of the course, the module, if you will, are these things over here, where if you click on the different topics, polar covalent bonds, acids and bases, something early on in the organic 1 sequence, you'll see that we have a specific correlation to, in this case, sections 2-7 and 2-11 in McMurray, the 10th edition. And this happens to be St. Elmo Brady, who is a historic figure, but he's the first African-American to earn a PhD in chemistry. And it happens that some of his research as a graduate student focused on pKa's of different carboxylic acids and how the structural features influenced those pKa's. So if you're someone who's taught organic chemistry for a long time, this is a concept that we try to bring home to our students very early on in the course. And we have a little bit of a discussion about how the different structural features influence the pKa's in the context of what Dr. Brady had been researching. That's an example of a historical figure. I like to use a mixture of historical figures and modern figures I mentioned. So let's look at nucleophilic substitution. So here's Robert Gilliard. He was actually an undergraduate in my group, and now he's a tenured professor at MIT. So he's much more famous now, but I'll have to update this. I don't know if I put, yeah, so he's a professor at MIT now. And he's still an active researcher, of course. So we talk about some unusual SN2 reactions, for example. So you have a nitrogen nucleophile attacking a primary benzylic site and making a big, elaborate-looking molecule. But trying to emphasize to the students also through these illustrative examples that we're not only able to do these simpler-looking reactions, say 2-bromobutane plus a simple nucleophile. If you understand these things that are expressed in the McMurry's book, you can think about making big elaborate molecules by the exact same processes. And where possible for the researchers, we've also included these video highlights. I try not to make them too long, but some of these researchers have been featured on popular shows like PBS's Nova, or here's some in chemical and engineering news highlighting the fact that Robert was one of the 12 talented chemists under 12, and he's been highlighted in Forbes magazine. So we put some links here, and the hope is that students will just get interested in these researchers and their work and do a little bit more reading. They'll really connect the material from a dry organic chemistry class with the real world, things that are happening in the past and things that are happening now. So that's essentially how it works. And the way that I personally integrate this into my course is I use it as a assignment they can complete to replace their low quiz grade, and students get very excited about it. I have about 90% of people completing it in my class. And to complete it is you go through all of the examples, and at the end, if you've completed 100% of the course, it will give you a certificate. So at Clemson, we use Canvas for our learning management system. We just upload it as the file in Canvas. You can see if they've uploaded it, and I just give them credit for the assignment that way. So it interfaces well with our learning management system, and it really have gotten, as you've seen from some of the quotes, really positive feedback for this. And I think that's all I would need to say about that. Hopefully my voice isn't too bad. I'm homesick today. So I'm happy to answer questions about this now, or if you want to email me, I think my email address might be on there. It's just my first name, rhett@clemson.edu, if you'd like to contact me.
Great, wonderful. Thank you so much. So this is such an invaluable resource, and we're just so fortunate to have it integrated with the 10th edition. And so the question is what can you do now? Well, the 10th edition is published and available, and so you can use it today, or you can recommend it to students today. If a lot of organic chemistry students try and do without a book, even at this late point in the semester, and so you can just recommend it to them as a resource if they need extra review. And of course, you can adopt it for the spring. If you have any questions about the book or the resource or any of the content, you can send an email to info@openstax.org, and we will get back to you. Well, we like to think within one day. The other thing is people always say, what's the catch or the obligation here? What's the, what are you doing it for? Well, we're really doing it for access and to improve learning equitably for all students. But we don't have any salespeople. So if you like what you see, the one thing we ask is please recommend us to a colleague or student. Just let them know. It's that word of mouth support that has really taken OER to the mainstream. This year we're serving around, not in organic chemistry, but across all different courses, around 6 to 7 million students. And that's really because of the great support from the community, from people like you. And of course, we'd be thrilled if you decided to support the CF Foundation in memory of Peter McMurry. That's one of John's big goals. So those are really our only requests right now. And of course, download the book and evaluate it for your course. So Lindsay, that brings us to the end of our formal programming. If there are any questions, let's review them now.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Rhett and David. I don't see any questions in the chat right now. So if folks have any questions, please feel free to share them. We're more than happy to answer them. Or if after the fact you have any questions, we've shared Rhett's email and Openstax's email in the chat. But we actually just got another question, and this is for you, Rhett. Do you also have examples for contributions from female chemists?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a good selection of people from all different backgrounds. I just happened to select a couple, one historic and one from someone I'd worked with personally from the modern time. But there are a lot of female authors. There are a lot of people of Asian or Hispanic American backgrounds, and people who've come from times in history where wherever they were living was sort of an oppressive climate. All different types of examples. It's really interesting, even as a faculty member, just to read about all the stories.
Wonderful. Thank you, Rhett. If folks have any other questions, feel free to share them in the chat. We'll stay on for a few more minutes in case folks have any additional questions. Oh, actually, I see some other questions in the Q&A. My apologies. So we have a question. Could the DEI modules be integrated into Brightspace?
So I don't know what Brightspace is myself. I've not used it, but I'll look into it and see what one can do with that.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
I'll write a note for that.
Is I think Brightspace is it's like an LMS.
It is, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll look into it to see if it's notably different from Blackboard or Canvas. I've used these modules with Blackboard and Canvas myself or helping other people, but I haven't helped someone with Brightspace yet. I think I've also helped someone who's using Moodle at their university, but I'll look at Brightspace.
Thank you. And one other question we have is, it's a fantastic effort on the DEI module. I navigated the website, but is there any way to ensure that students watch the entire video before the submission link is activated?
So there's not a way to make sure they watch the full video. To do that type of thing, you have to kind of host the video yourself. These are largely copywritten videos that other people have made. It mentions a couple national programs and things. So they're not things to where I can download them, put them on the site legally, and monitor the students' watch percentage at this time.
Oh,
So
thank
just
you.
to provide clarity there. In those cases where it's copyright protected, you are linking to the video. You're not embedding the video. Is that right, Rhett?
That's right. They're mostly hosted on YouTube, and you just post sort of the embed code for that. So I'm not taking their content and putting it on there or anything.
And if you wanted to drive usage to have students complete, you could always tell them there's going to be a question or two on these on your assessment. That sometimes helps in terms of compliance.
Wonderful. Well, I don't see any other questions in the chat or in the Q&A. So I think we can go ahead and end the webinar a little early. If folks have any other questions, feel free to send us an email, either info@openstax.org for questions about the book, or if you have questions about the incredible diversity and inclusion modules that Rhett created, you can send him an email at rhett@clemson.edu. And both of these email addresses are pasted in the chat. We really want to extend a huge thank you to Rhett for putting together these incredible modules and for presenting today. I'm so sorry you're under the weather. We hope you feel better soon. And a huge thank you to David for presenting as well. And of course, to our audience members for your thoughtful questions and feedback. We're really excited and invigorated by your passion for organic chemistry. If you need anything else from Openstax or from Rhett, please feel free to contact us afterwards. Thank you so much, everyone. We hope that everyone has a great rest of their day. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.